I'll be creative and I'll show this energy so I can give you all of me. All of me. Spending every day, spending every night, and I've been thinking about you constantly and all the time. Maybe I'd even grow down on my knees just to get to where you are and make you mine. I don't wanna rush it. Yeah. I just want you to trust it. We'll be fine. Give it time. There's no pressure. I'll be creative and I'll channel this energy so I can give you all of me. All of me. Spend a whole day, babe, I go a long way. Don't ever worry if you got me, cause you got me. All of the wrongs you've had, I wanna make it right. Just one chance, I won't fight it. It's alright, it ain't my time. There's no pressure. I'll be creative and I'll channel this energy so I can give you all of me.
Tapping the ancestral staff, calling the ancestors to bring the blessings. The ancestors say, you got a right, you got a right, you got a right to the key of life. You got a right, you got a right, you got a right to the key of life. You got a right, you got a right, you got a right to the key of life. You got a right, you got a right, you got a right to the key of life. You got a right to the key of life. You got a right to the key of life.
Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use.
Thank you for your love and
Welcome to Blended Healing. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I wanted to bring to your attention of another holiday since we are in the holiday week in the celebration of Juneteenth. But there was more celebrations that predated Juneteenth, and it was called Pinkster. Pinkster. Let me give you a description of Pinkster. Allow me to share this information with you on today. Pinkster was something that was considered to be a day where Black people could travel in colonial times on Pinkster, Dutch for the Pentecost. The festivals, which falls in May or June, follows Easter. It honors the Holy Spirit inspiring Jesus Christ's disciples to initiate the church's missionary work. Pinkster is among an array of lesser known African American holidays, although historians say it is likely one of the earliest. As the broader U.S. population prepares to honor Juneteenth, a federal holiday marking the day enslaved people in Texas learned belatedly about their emancipation. There's nothing like family. Pinkster would have been like a precursor to Juneteenth, celebrated mostly in the North in colonial New York. People came together every year to congregate just to have a good time, just to have a good time. Pinkster has been a holiday which they are trying to push with legislation in New York alongside Juneteenth and the Holocaust Remembrance Day. They are working very diligently in the borough of Brooklyn to author this bill, knowing that Pinkster is a key part of the state's history, New York State. Black Americans, not just in pain or hardship, but also in joy and family, even during the hardest moments of enslavement, they still found moments to come together and celebrate our collective history. Several Black museums have opened in recent years, with more coming. Juneteenth, which Black families have celebrated for generations dating back to Reconstruction, became one of the dozen federal holidays starting in 2021 federally. However, it is not the only African American holiday to gain recognition. There are others such as Negro Election Day, the day Black New Englanders elected community representative predates the American Revolution and is a Massachusetts holiday. In Manhattan on May 25th, there are songs and dances honoring ancestors before the first annual stroll through the town. There are people who talk about Not Your Mama's History, which is a website with 250,000 followers on YouTube that offers educational videos and programming about slavery and the African experience in colonial America and the early United States. May I offer that you tap into that and get acquainted to the holiday of Pinkster. The Pinkster participants walk through the Dykeman farmhouse, which is a museum and a former home of a Dutch family who held enslaved people. The group moved down Broadway, drumming as they traversed a Dominican business corridor. Enslaved Africans arrived in New York just a few years after Dutch colonizers settled there. Thousands came in bondage from the Caribbean and Africa, often from the Congo or Lonago peoples. Between the early 1600s and the late 1700s, when the slave trade ended, New York abolished slavery in 1827. New York's enslaved population was smaller than the plantation economies in the South. However, enslavement was pervasive in the northern city. Enslaved Black New Yorkers often lived in isolation from one another, with only a few people living on the farms or in homes. They worked as domestic servants, laborers, tradesmen, and dock workers in New York Harbor. In 1730, enslaved people made up about a fifth of Manhattan's population. During the 1790 U.S. Census, enslaved people accounted for about a third of Kings County, which is present day Brooklyn. More than 60% of households had enslaved people. Slavery was really integral to this society. For more than 200 years, slavery was a regular part of New York life. White New Yorkers heavily restricted and surveilled enslaved people's movements. They could not move around without travel passes. They were mandated to use lanterns at night and prohibited from purchasing certain goods. In this context, Pinkster, a springtime Christian holiday, gave people a respite from bondage. Slave owning societies often gave enslaved people a few days off, typically around Christmas or Easter. The premise was that enslaved people wouldn't rebel if they had limited freedoms. Pinkster was also used as resistance. It had a broader meaning for Black Americans. It represented resistance. Pinkster involved into a week-long secular gathering for enslaved people separated from their family. and friends, a place to practice African traditions in community with others. It really does function as a way for the slaves to perform their true selves, their true identities, to connect with relatives and friends that they have been prevented from seeing. The abolitionist, Sojourner Truth, born enslaved in Dutch speaking New York, described Pinkster celebrations with longing. She recounted in her autobiography as the Guinea dance or the Guinea drum at Pinkster celebrations, and historical accounts mention a Pinkster king who presided over the ceremonies, a tradition likely rooted in West Central African traditions that adopted Christianity before the slave trade. Other accounts from the 1800s noted that the festival included thousands of Black people from New York and New Jersey. Pinkster is believed to have the largest African American celebration in colonial American and early U.S. history. Black people organized Pinkster events, but attendees were from different racial backgrounds. By the 19th century, the celebrations dwindled. One key factor in their decline was that New York State in 1811 effectively outlawed Pinkster. The ban was prompted by fear among white landowners after the late 18th century, the Haitian Revolution, in which enslaved Black people revolted against the Caribbean islands' dominant white enslaving class. White lawmakers in the United States took steps to prohibit Black people from gathering in groups. The last recorded events happened in the mid 1800s. Rediscovering the celebration of Pinkster. Reviving the tradition is deeply meaningful, since the holiday honors the humanity of Black people living under bondage. We need to take the shame that other people have placed upon us off by rediscovering things like Pinkster and celebrating them however we choose to. It's vitally important that people went out of their way to remain human in their own eyes. About 8 years ago, at a local historical society, a group of Black people putting on 18th century clothing near the famed Apollo Theater in the heart of Harlem, the historic African American neighborhood with a Dutch name. The group members wore West African garments and had drums and a banjo. They were there to celebrate Pinkster. In that case, they decided collectively that they were going to revive the tradition with a stroll that started in Harlem, New York. In the Saturday afternoon heat, the group arrived at the New York Historical Society, the city's first museum, founded in 1804. Pinkster was envisioned as a holiday for the Black diaspora, for people from the Caribbean, Latin America, the northern and southern United States, and Africa in New York City. It is for them. And it's not about educating white folks or the public about it. It's for us as African Americans. Knowledge is power. May you enjoy this week of freedom as the second Freedom Day, Independence Day. As you go forward, please do it in the remembrance of our ancestors that came before us. I want to thank you for stopping by Blended Healing. I hope I was able to get you reacquainted with some of our history that's been long since gone. Maybe perhaps you yourself can start your own group with your local historical society to revive Pinkster in your neighborhoods. Get it together. Make it happen. Have that block party. Ashe and D bow, and I shall see y'all very, very soon.